Well, that was easy, wasn't it? First, I want to apologize for the background noise, but it has been awful hot here in Indiana the last couple of weeks, and I finally broke and turned the central air on, so that'll probably be kicking on and off throughout this video. Now, that aside, you guys are looking at a John Deere 111, and I know nothing about them. Some of you guys in the comments have been asking for me to do one of these, and I swore I never would. John Deere's just not my thing. I don't have anything against them. If it's green, I normally don't buy it. So you guys should feel special because I'm doing this just for you. So that was the serial number of the tractor. I don't really know how to break them down. You guys will have to tell me in the comments exactly what year it is. According to tractor data, these were made from 1979 to I think 1985 or something. So we're just gonna ballpark it and call it somewhere in there. Now this just being the 111, the research I've done on it, it's just a 5-speed manual transmission. I guess they did offer these with a hydrostatic rear end. I'm pretty sure under the hood we're gonna find an 11 horsepower Briggs. It's definitely a Briggs. I don't see a horsepower rating anywhere. Oh, there's the air filter. Oh, I thought that was missing. So, unfortunately, the scrap pile I rescued this from, it was sitting just like this with no air filter on it. I don't know if the engine's locked up. The guy that had it told me it was free at one point, so I don't know if it still is or not. That's kind of the story on this. The guy had posted this on the marketplace looking to get rid of it. By the time I had seen it and gotten a hold of him, he'd already done put it on a scrap trailer. And I wish I'd gotten a picture of it, but I was in too big of a hurry to snap one. This thing was literally sitting on about a 6-foot tall stack of junk on a trailer. Luckily, he had a little tractor with some forks, and we had to drag it off there with a chain. Walking around this thing, it really don't look that bad. I mean, I don't know what they're supposed to look like, but you can see the seat pan's got some bends in it, some dents. It's got some surface rust starting. But overall, for being, we'll just call it a 1980 for the sake of math, for being 43 years old or 44 years old, this thing's actually in pretty good shape. So besides the obvious of probably having to clean the carb and all that stuff, making sure the engine's not locked up, all 4 tires are junk. I seem to be having a reoccurring theme for junk tires on these things. And also the reason why it was so difficult for me to unload this, the steering's locked up. I can't get it to move left or right. I don't know if something got bent when they threw it on the scrap trailer or if the spindles are locked up, so we'll have to get into that. But I think for now, all we're gonna focus on is trying to get it started, making sure we've got a runner, and then we'll go through and check the belts and stuff like that, make sure the running gear is okay and that the rear end works, and then we'll go from there. Enough talking, let's get to this. I don't see any rust. It's carboned up, but no rust, so that's good. So let's hook some cables up to this and see if we can get it to spin over with the key switch. Now there was no key in it, but I got the universal one right here. Alright, is there a clutch switch? I'm not getting anything to click at all. Let me go through this wiring and see what we got going on here. I think it's locked up. Well, that was a lot harder than it should have been. But at least now I can get to the shroud. Oh boy. That thing is locked up. Let's make sure it's in a belt. Let's see if we can get the engine to turn from down low. There it is. It was a little stuck. Very slowly, but it is. Did you guys see that thing glowing red hot? I think we got a bad ground somewhere. It turns over, the starter's good. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on with this wiring and why the key switch ain't working. Well, I've done some research online, found a ref wiring diagram, so I'm gonna be using this to see what we got going on. Looks like the starter solenoid is under this battery bracket. We're gonna get that out of the way so we can get better access to the wiring. All right, we're just gonna start with the basics. We do have 12-volt connection to the solenoid. Now there are 2 red wires coming out of the solenoid. Actually, there's 3, and I have no idea. This is some stuff people's probably added. Something is smoking in here. Not sure how well you guys are gonna be able to see that. But as I'm sitting here talking to you guys about what I'm planning on doing here, I thought I was smelling something hot. Well, that something hot turned to something popping and cracking, and it let a whole bunch of smoke out. It shouldn't be doing that. The key switch ain't even on. And I mean, I'm not doing anything crazy. All I'm doing is just using my jump pack instead of actually putting a battery in here. So something has run amok. It seemed like it was coming out from underneath the shroud. Well, after that smoke show, I figured it best we might as well go ahead and pull this shroud off. I got the fuel tank out of the way. I need to actually get a look at and see what's cooking under there so I know where the issue's at. But judging by these cheap butt connectors, somebody's been in here doing stuff they probably shouldn't be doing. And I can't diagnose it if I can't even hook a battery up to it without catching it on fire. So let's see if we can get this shroud off and figure out what the issue is. Wow, I am shocked that came out. Awesome. There it is. I was really expecting to see point breakers under this thing. So it is just a 1-wire ignition coil then. Yeah, that's not supposed to look like that. It's supposed to be nice and bright copper, not black from being burnt. Okay. Been doing some reading on some wiring diagrams, and I think I figured out what the issue is here. We're dealing with 2 separate problems. The reason why the key switch ain't starting the engine yet, I don't know. But the reason why the engine's trying to catch on fire is somebody else's incompetence, and I don't blame them because I didn't really know this either until I started doing some digging. I'm sure some of you old timers are probably yelling at me right now who already know what the problem is. So what somebody has done on the stator here, there's a 2-wire. The red wire coming out, actually both wires come out. You see those new quick connects there down to this style pigtail to another new quick connect. This red wire here goes back to the solenoid. That is the actual voltage wire from the stator. Whenever the flywheel's turning, it's making current flows to the solenoid, which then piggybacks to the wire going to the battery. It charges the battery. Well, what'll happen, since that's a direct feed, there's supposed to be a diode in line. And the way that diode works is kind of like a check valve. It will allow electricity to flow through whenever voltage on the other side is lower than what that is making, but it doesn't allow it to backfeed to the stator. That's what it's doing. The stator probably failed. Follow this wire in here. It's all new red wire. The diode probably failed. It probably stopped charging. Somebody just said to hell with it, cut it out, and put a new piece of wire in. I mean, being honest, that's what I would do. And yeah, it's backfeeding and it's getting smoking hot. So to fix that problem, I'm going to try to find a new diode or a regulator to figure out what I can do to make that work, and that will solve that problem, and hopefully that stator is not ruined. But the good news is I can just go ahead and unplug this for now, hook my battery back up, and then we can go back to diagnosing the no crank issue. Okay, now back to what we were doing. We've got the battery hooked back up. All right, we've got 12 volt to the solenoid, which we want. Now we need to see 12 volt feeding the key switch. And according to the diagram, it should be this red wire here. Well, that'll do it. Let's see if we can figure out where we're losing that 12 volt at. Okay, according to the diagram, the red wire for the key switch is fed by that circuit breaker right there. Now I've tried checking for continuity. The wire going into the breaker does, because it's fed off that lug on the solenoid, which is direct battery feed, but I can't get anything out of the other side of it. So I think what I'm gonna do for now is loop those two together and just do away with that circuit breaker. And hopefully it don't catch nothing on fire, but that'll rule out if that breaker's bad or not. All right, I have bypassed the circuit breaker. In theory, we should now have 12 volt on this red prong. And we do. All right, now we're getting somewhere. There's a purple wire down in here. This is the signal. Now if I turn the key on to start, we should see this light up. And we do not. All right, let's check the key switch again. With key off, there should be nothing. Key on. With key on, there should be nothing, and with start, yep, we should have something there, and we don't. I think we might be dealing with a bad key switch, guys. All right, here's what I've done. We're gonna do the exact same test again. This is battery positive feeding the key switch, but what I've done is I've cut out all the safety switches, and I've wired in direct from the key switch pigtail to the signal wire on the solenoid. So in theory, whenever I touch this terminal to this purple wire, hopefully if that solenoid's good, it should turn the engine over. But if not, it'll at least click to tell us that what I've got going on here is right. So let's see what happens here. Oh, there you go. Awesome, so that tells us a couple different things. Solenoid's good and the starter wire is good. But that also tells us that this key switch is no good, because I tried the same test off camera with the key switch hooked up and it's not doing anything. So far we know we need a new key switch, a new circuit breaker, probably a stator at least, a diode to put in line, and we don't even know if this thing's gonna run or not. All right, we have essentially got this thing hot wired. I unhooked the wire from the coil, and like I've said 100 times before, that should mean the coil will always fire if it's good, because you kill it by throwing the spark to ground. Anyway, so I'm gonna put my hot wire switch in here. All we're doing here is bypassing the safety switches and all that, and the key switch. So in theory, when I touch these, this thing should turn over, and hopefully we're gonna see spark out of that. We got spark. I say we throw the plug in and hit the little ether and see if we can get it to idle or start. I don't know, make some noise. Well, it didn't quite start and idle like I wanted it to, but with what we're working with, that's the best I can do for now. So now I have to be patient and wait for parts to show up. But fortunately for you guys, it should only be a couple minutes and we'll be back with some goodies for this thing. So I'll see y'all then. Well, the UPS man brought me some goodies yesterday. I'll show you what we got. Now you guys have been watching the channel for a while. You know I always try to use the factory carb if I can save them. To save myself the headache of even trying to get that thing cleaned up and working, I bought a new one. As cheap as these are on Amazon, it was worth it to me. So we got a new carb. I also went ahead and picked up a new ignition coil. This is a new style that replaces that old style on that engine there. And it came with a new spark plug. Don't know if it's right or not, but hey, we got one. And then you guys should recognize that. HIPAA coming in clutch again for me. We also got a new circuit breaker so we can replace the faulty one so we don't burn this thing to the ground trying to start it. And because I want to be prepared in case that one is bad, I have got a new Stator charging coil, whatever you guys want to call it. And you can actually see on this in line here, this is that diode I was telling you guys about. This is like the one-way check valve that allows voltage to flow through to charge the battery, but not backfeed and burn your mower to the ground. So all the links for this stuff will be in the description. I think this is the most expensive thing, around like 25 bucks. We're gonna try it, it's aftermarket. Carb was cheap, ignition coil again was cheap. Just load the parts can and shoot it at this thing. Hopefully we get it running good. I'm sure lots of you guys have got these impact drivers, and I'm sure you've all have got the adapters to go from the 1/4" hex to the 1/4" 3/8 drive. I picked up some of these extended ones and I've been very happy with them so far. Just gives you that extra little bit to have the clearance you need to get your tool in there. If I remember, I'll put the link for these in the description. They weren't that expensive if I remember right. We got the stator loose, but because an engineer designed this, you got to pull the starter off to get the wiring out. Normally I just cut this off and do my thing, but that new one, we're gonna have to feed the wires right back through there. So let's go ahead and buzz this starter off. So like I was saying, let's go ahead and pull this starter off. Damn, those are on there. Oh yeah, you guys can see how hot that was getting. Probably a good thing I'm gonna go ahead and replace this. Now technically there's nothing wrong with this coil other than the fact that it's outdated. And as cheap as it was, I figured I might as well go ahead and replace it. Get it off there. There it is. Now I have seen on some of these aftermarket ignition coils, if they ever don't work, flip them over and try again. Don't ask me why. I've had it before to where you install it the way that you think it should be installed and you don't have spark. And you'll have to flip it over and then it magically starts working. So just a little pro tip. Hopefully we get this one right the first time around. But I'm not gonna snug this one down completely until we get the flywheel put back on. So we can set our air gap properly. You'll have to look up in your manual what the proper air gap is. Typically, it's about the thickness of a business card. This actually came with a coil I bought a while back. So you're gonna rotate the engine over till it's over top of the magnet. Slide that in. Yeah, I saw that or not. The magnet pulls it in against that card. Now you can snug your bolts down. There you go, properly gapped. Now, before we get too carried away, let's go ahead and check spark on this thing. Make sure that the coil is installed properly. You guys watch back here, see if we get spark now. And we do. Well, we might as well use this fancy new spark plug we got. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I hardly ever put new spark plugs in things. I don't think I've ever found a bad spark plug. There's always another issue. Not saying it doesn't happen, it just hasn't happened to me yet. This new coil, the spark plug wire is longer than the original, which I guess that isn't really a problem. I'd rather it be longer than too short. Well, I don't think there's really anything left to do besides pulling that carb off and putting the new one on. But this should be proof that there's no reason why you guys should be worried about tearing into a project of your own. It's amazing what you can find out on the old internet. If there's something I don't know, just search it. And typically on these old lawn tractors and garden tractors, there's a huge following for them, and you're always going to find good literature on it. Almost everything I've ever bought, and I've been able to find an original copy of a service manual, an owner's manual. So again, just give it a try sometime. You might surprise yourself. Well, there it is in all its glory. All right, here's what we got going on. I guess I got to reuse this stud. Looks like we got to use the fuel inlet, the choke hold down. That's really about it. Let's get this stuff switched over. Oh, there's some goodness in that carb. Think you got any rain in it? Gross. I don't think it's gonna work. Okay, that is nowhere near the same size. That is much, much smaller. That's a problem. Okay, press is diverted for now. It's actually the same thread pitch as the choke hold down here. Now, I don't have the proper drill bit or a 1/4 inch tap, but I got one very close. And since it's aluminum, it should be pretty forgiving. Perfect. Unfortunately, one thing that I didn't notice until now is the choke is on the opposite side of the carb, which is not very convenient. But we'll figure it out. Luckily, I think the throttle cable is the same though. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I was saying, it's like something's always 180 degrees out with these Chinese carbs. And I get it, they put these engines in several different purposes. But, I mean, did they really design everything exactly opposite of here in the States? That's what I always just find comical. I mean, I know they drive on the opposite side of the road than we do, but does that really mean that everything's 180 degrees out? If so, that's kind of funny. We've got a new gasket. Well, there we go. Everything but the choke. I'm sure I'll figure out how to get that hooked up. But it's 90 degrees outside, so we don't need choke anyway. It might be as simple as just taking the choke blade out, I don't know, and switching it to this side, maybe. If not, we can always shorten this cable and use the support bracket as a hold down for the cable and just put it on the inside. Got a battery hooked up to it. We got the new carb put on. I got a little bit of fuel in it. I need to hear this thing run. You guys know how it goes. You're working on a project, you start losing motivation. Well, hopefully this will bring us back around. So I got a little bit of fuel in it. Since Amazon screwed me, I still don't have the right key switch, but that's all right. We're still going to go ahead and jump start it. Great. It idled, guys. All right, I got some motivation now, so as soon as I get that new key switch, we will get that put on and start getting this thing buttoned back up, because I mentioned to try to ride this thing. I'll tell you what, I was about to give up on getting the key switch. I ended up ordering 2 off Amazon. The first one showed up. It was completely wrong. The second one never even shipped. It was said it was supposed to be here like 2 days ago. I ended up canceling it. And I did some digging online and I crossed the part number to this here. If you guys look that number up, if you guys need a key switch for your John Deere, according to this, your MTD. Anyway, a local CarQuest actually had this in stock and it really wasn't that much more than buying online. So we're gonna get this put in the tractor and tidy up some wiring. You guys saw I took some stuff apart, bypassed some stuff. We're gonna put a new circuit breaker in. I've also got a brand new battery over there that we're going to get put in this thing. I'll probably do a little time lapse and we'll speed through this and I'll bring you guys back when we're ready to actually try to start it under its own power. So here we go.
Retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness.
smoke you guys are seeing is the belt slipping on the pulley. So something else is locked up. But man, the engine runs. Doesn't run bad. Hell, it started sitting there and idling there on its own there for a minute. We definitely got an issue with the throttle cable seized up. That's why I was feeding it by hand. Man, I'm glad to hear that thing run. Well, it's the next day. I've been out here for a little bit, just tidying some things up. Got the battery put in. I've got a couple connectors put on the wires coming from the stator, the charging coil. So hopefully when this thing's running, it'll actually be charging that battery. So I think we're ready to start working on the other issues preventing us from riding this thing. And if you guys remember way back in the beginning of this video, the steering's locked up. Now I can see the rag joint when I had the battery out. The column itself is free. I could see the rag joint turning, so I'm hoping it's just as simple as we've got a spindle seized up or something. So I'll probably go ahead and start with getting these front wheels and tires off. So that'll give us some better access, and we'll see if we can get this thing steering properly. And pressure in that one. I bet that's our guy right there. Yep, that's the one. Yep, steering wheel's moving now. I know you guys can't see it, but if you isolate it like that, take the tie rod off, that'll tell you for sure if that's the issue. So get this snap ring off and this washer. Give us a little bit more access to beat on this thing. I don't want to smash the top of this because I'll never get the stamp ring back on it. And I really don't want to put an air hammer on that. I'm sure if I do though, they'll probably drive it out pretty good. Okay, you talked me into it. Now, I love cheap tools as much as the next guy, but there's some things you don't want to skip on. One is an air hammer. This is Mac Tools Big Daddy. I don't even know the model number, so don't ask me. I bought it years ago off the tool truck. What in the world caused that to seize up? I think it's just lack of maintenance. That looks a lot better. Oh yeah, look at that. I believe we have a bad grease fitting too. Maybe that's what caused this. Hey, look at that. Now we're talking. Look at that. It's almost like power steering. Yeah, no, not really. Definitely noisy down there. We got a couple pulleys, I think, with some bad bearings. And the belt's plumb wore out. But it works. Well, we're only gonna have about one shot at this, guys, because the drive belt is rapidly shredding. I'm sure that tensioner that was locked up is probably bad, so let's see if we can ride it. Well, I'm gonna call that a success. I'm sure you guys could hear that god-awful racket. That is the belt literally shredding itself. So it's definitely got a bad bearing on a pulley somewhere, or maybe that belt itself is just, it's tired and it's given up. But the rear end does work. Engine fires right up, it's running great. I did tune in the carburetor a little bit off camera. I didn't want to bore you guys with that. But this is a good, solid little tractor mower. Tractor, I don't know. I mean, the biggest issues we fixed. The wiring, the whole not starting thing, not running. We resolved all that. And the charging system's working now. That new Stator solved the problem. It's charging the battery up, which is awesome. The way I look at it, it would be in a scrapyard right now, probably smashed, getting shredded, heading to some factory in China to turn into razor blades. And we prevented that from happening. So what I'll probably end up doing, I'll probably hang on to it for a little bit. That is a very good running Briggs engine. It doesn't hurt to have a spare. I'll probably hang on to it for a little bit. Maybe I'll get some tires ordered for it, maybe a new belt, I don't know. But it'll probably end up being listed on the old marketplace for sale. And I'll just hand it down to somebody that has the time and the patience to bring it back around. So yeah, guys, I think that's gonna do it for this one. I had a lot of fun with this one. You guys have been asking for a John Deere. Hopefully this lives up to your expectations. If any of you guys are interested in buying this gem of a tractor, shoot me an email. I'll put it down below. Also, any tools and parts that you've seen me use in the video, I've been trying to put those in the video's description as well. If you guys do use the affiliate links, it does help the channel out. Not a big deal if not. I come across some tools every once in a while and I like to share with people. But yeah, guys, thanks for following along with me on this one. And as always, thanks for watching and commenting. And I will see you guys soon. Take care.